It is Pac-12 Media Day from Las Vegas, the second half of the day, post-lunch, as we continue here. 6 more programs to go in alphabetical order. Along with Don McClain, I'm Guy Haberman. It's great to have the head coach of the Stanford Cardinal, Jerod Haase, with us. Coach, great to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Give us a sense of how you feel about your team here in the final month before the season begins.
I'm excited. We had a foreign tour this year. Went to France and Greece and had a little bit of increased practice time this summer. We also have an older team, which I haven't normally had at Stanford, and that's been great. I feel like we're pretty far ahead in terms of where maybe a lot of teams are right now, just because of that experience in the foreign tour. But I'm excited. I think we have talent, we have depth, and a group that's hungry.
Finally, Jerod, I don't know how many conversations you and I have had at shoot-around about getting older, and now you are. I mean, I guess expand on that a little bit. Why it's so important to get older now in college basketball?
I mean, just number one is physically. There's a big difference between an 18-year-old and a 23-year-old. But maybe more importantly is the experience factor. The travel piece of it, the being in close games, getting through practices, the whole experience when you've gone through it 4 or 5 times, not a lot phases older guys. And I think having that as the nucleus of our team is going to be important.
I think it's probably cool when you go on international trips and you get to see family along the way. Maxime Reynaud's family, Peja's wife,
yep.
Andre's mom, her family's in Greece, right? So what did that add to the trip?
I just put one of my favorite pictures up behind my desk at work of the entire team at Maxime's house. His mom created an unbelievable lunch for us and did the whole thing, and we have a great picture of that. But it really added a different dynamic, a real personal element to the trip, and we're thrilled to be able to do that.
How important is that to get those extra practices, too? I mean, coaches talk about that all the time. It's great, you know, and the trip is unbelievable experience for the players and the coaches, but the extra practices seem to really be a big deal.
No question. Overseas, we did play 3 games, and the games were great, but we didn't practice when we were over there. We wanted the experience to trump the basketball piece of it. But the summer, the extra practice time and getting out there, that part was invaluable, and had a great time getting to know the guys, trying to put the pieces together, and the practice time is probably the most important part of the foreign tour from a basketball perspective.
One thing that's a little different for you this year, it's not that you haven't had any teams, but this one seems to be even more, is shooting. Like, you guys at the end of last year really came on shooting the basketball. It seems like with the addition of Stojakovic and some other guys that, I mean, you have a chance to be not only the best shooting team in the league, but maybe in the country.
I agree. Part of that needs to be our ability to get the clean looks and, you know, being able to get downhill, get to the paint to try and collapse defenses. And, you know, schematically with plays, we can do it. We have been playing a touch faster, so hopefully we can get breakdown situations in transition. But I think we really, for most of the game, we're going to have 5 guys out there that we feel comfortable shooting the basketball, and probably 3 or 4 that maybe could be labeled as elite shooters.
You were able to get another transfer this year, an important one, point guard. Jerod Bynum transfer from Providence, another experienced guy that's played in the tournament. Just talk about him and what he brings to the table from that position.
Yeah, we talked about experience, but I think, you know, the idea of being able to get downhill, handling pressure, getting to the paint. If we can get some paint touches, either post feeds or, you know, especially point guard, like you mentioned, Jerod, getting to the paint, I think that's going to be advantageous for us because we do have so much shooting around him. He's been there, you know, been to the NCAA tournament, been in tough games, and I think he's going to add a new element, and a dynamic point guard is going to be really fun for the guys also.
Spencer Jones coming back for his 5th year. I mean, you think back to his freshman year. I remember the season started his freshman year. I think he took whatever the number was, 24. His first 24 shots were threes or something like that, right? He wasn't going in the paint. Obviously, that's all changed. He becomes one of the best defenders in the league. What is there another level then to his development coming into year 5, and where have you seen it?
Yeah, I think so. We want him to be a real focal point of what we do. You talked about defensively, he's really become a star defender. We know he can shoot the basketball, but I think he's becoming more and more proficient in the post. He can put the ball on the ground. We'll try and do some things where we can, you know, isolate him for the elbows or do some different things to get him going downhill. With his size and with his improved ball handling, I think that's going to be a part of his game as well. So we want him to be as well-rounded as possible, knowing that the three-point shooting is a huge piece.
Based on what we saw last year, Jerod, and you saw a lot more flashes from him, but I'm expecting, without knowing anything, I haven't been to your practice, I haven't seen you guys play. My guess is that Maxime Reynaud is going to make a gigantic jump this year.
I think that's very possible. He had a good summer, played on the under 20 France team and won a gold medal. He's really developed. His confidence, maybe more than anything, has taken a big step forward. The guys have a great deal of confidence in him in the low post. He's becoming very, very effective. And then he does have the ability to get out on the floor, make plays as a passer, and then step out and make some threes as well. So I do think he's primed to have a good year.
We're going to talk to Brandon Angel coming up, but I know that was a guy from the beginning that you really loved him. You loved having him around. So what has been the next level for him?
Well, I've had honestly a bunch of guys that I think are tremendous student athletes, scholar athletes, and Brandon's right at the top of the list. I think he can be the scholar athlete of the year in college basketball. 4.0 in econ, that kind of thing. But on the court, his development has been steady. I think our team is a little bit old school in terms of how we talk about culture, how we talk about player development. We understand we're going to have a nucleus of guys that stay. Brandon's the example of that. I guess Spencer could be too, but Brandon came as a freshman, played some, but then developed as a sophomore, developed as a junior, and I think this year is going to be in a situation that he can really thrive, and the development piece for us is something we take a lot of pride in.
This has come up a couple times this morning about four-year guys and staying in the same program and developing. Haase wins Player of the Year last year in the league. There's a handful of guys this year. Spencer Jones being one of them. Tristan Da Silva, Brandon Carlson at Utah, where I'm just surprised, Jerod, and not to get you started because you and I have had a lot of those conversations too about where college basketball is at, but why players don't look at that. That if you stay and develop, you'll end up being better, you'll have a better career, and you may get what you want. And I was triple happy that not only Haase won Player of the Year last year, but now he's the 18th pick in the draft.
Couldn't agree more. I could go on and on about this topic.
Yeah.
I am concerned about, everybody knows the challenges we have, challenges with NIL and transfers and, agents and the conference realignment. All these different things are really huge topics. The one thing I want to do as time goes on is really educate on the consequences. And some of them we can predict pretty easily. Graduation rates I think are probably going to start going down. We can understand some of the consequences. I think there's going to be a lot of consequences we don't realize yet. But one of the positive things about staying into school and staying with a coach and having stability is you're going to have consistent development and you kind of learn how to fight through adversity. And honestly, one of the goals we should have is prepare these guys for life after basketball and life after college. And when you do stay at a place and work through the good and the bad, I think those are the kind of principles and ideas that do help you when you move on to the real world.
Well, you don't want this to be something, but it's there. 19% of kids that went in the portal last year didn't get a Division I scholarship. And so as much as we don't want that trend to continue, maybe if it does, it'll give some of these players some pause about going into the portal, trying to get NIL money, and maybe staying. And like we're saying, stay and develop, and then play however you want to play after college. But it's just, the way it's set up now, there's kids that go into the portal that I've never prepared for a season more in this league where more teams have JC transfers. I started thinking, why are all these are coaches recruiting the JCs more? No, it's because all those kids that didn't get a Division I scholarship are going to JC now.
I'm not anti NIL. I'm not anti-transfer. There's a lot of positives with a lot of what's going on right now. I'm happy for players of having the ability to make money and the ability to have more voice in a lot of what's going on. But I will say this, that I am so excited and so proud of this year's Stanford team. I can say with a great deal of conviction that we have a group of guys that is here at Stanford because they believe in me, they believe in the direction of the program, they believe in bonding as a team and trying to achieve a team goal, they believe in education, they believe in life after basketball and the things that Stanford can do for them. I genuinely say that and I mean it. And I understand that we're moving away from that to a certain degree, but man, we got to try and hold on to as much as we can. And for this year, I'm going to enjoy that.
We talk about the advanced age of your group in a good way, but let's talk about one of the two highly recruited guys you guys brought in Andrej Stojakovic. What is he adding to your team so far?
He's a dynamic player. He has the ability to create his own shot, kind of score in a variety of different ways. I think that's going to be a dynamic that's going to be really useful for our team. Has great length, he can really create shots off a dribble, which not a lot of, honestly, players in college basketball can effectively do that. He's going to be a really good player, and I think he's in a position where he's going to be able to grow and develop with us, and I think there's some big moments ahead for him.
Do you think that because you have so many experienced players on your team, that helps the development of any freshman, but especially a high-level freshman, that a lot of eyeballs are going to be on him?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think he's getting opportunities right now, and then he'll continue to get those opportunities. But when he sees Spencer and Brandon every day, and we're going to talk to them in just a second, when he sees how they work, how they show up, how they handle their business, you can't help but learn from that and grow from that. And I think he's in a great spot in that regard.
You mentioned those two. We've talked about them a little bit, but now they're in the room and they're going to start walking up here, and then we'll let you leave. But what about Spencer and Brandon? Why are they here?
They're everything you want in scholar athletes, but on the basketball court, I think they both have a high upside. They're going to be leaders on this team. We're going to do a lot of different things to have the ball in their hands, and they fit well into the context of everything that we're doing within the team. Very, very smart, as you would expect, very talented, and I think they're going to be two of the cornerstones that help us do some big things.
All right, Coach, we'll let you slide out, and we'll bring
Thanks,
them in.
Coach.
Good
Good to
luck
see
this
you.
year.
Thank you.
Thank you. There's Jerod Haase, head coach of the Stanford Cardinal, and Brandon Angel and Spencer
I don't think
Jones
our
will step
collective
in.
IQ is going to match up here with these two.
With
Maybe
these
they
two